What's up guys, HOUNDISHx here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the end game following on from Rise of Iron. So what is it that we do in the game now? We've experienced most of the content in the expansion, at least to some degree, whether you're a more casual or hardcore player, and it's now about that longer term endgame experience. How do we keep playing until the next thing happens? Well, firstly, you don't have to burn out on Destiny. Just remember that there are other games and things to do in life. Destiny can't hold our attention 100% of the time. It's a simple fact, and if you bear this in mind, it can certainly help your outlook on the game. So let's talk endgame anyway. What can we do in Destiny now, as well as some problems and potential solutions? So first up is 400 light. This is something that you can slowly but surely achieve, even for the players who don't raid or play Trials of Osiris regularly. If you are one of these players, then Strikes, ARCHONS Forge and Crucible are going to be your best friends. If you do the raids and trials regularly, then you're probably already at least closing in on 400 light. Hitting max light can take a while, but there's no need to rush. If you only get a few hours to play in a week, then you can jump into Crucible and some Strikes, use some 3 of coins, and you should be able to get some satisfactory progress every time you play. Hitting 400 light is super satisfying, but it is a very big component for the endgame grind of Destiny, so bear that in mind. You just don't want to burn out. What if you're already 400 light though? Well, there's certainly stuff to do, which we'll go over now, but there are a few issues which I think Bungie need to address to keep players engaged, which I'll mention at the end. So up next is Strikes, Crucible and Reputation. Collecting strike specifics and grinding for great rolls on these items is totally something that I enjoyed doing through the months leading to Rise of Iron. There's also the element of gaining reputation for a shot at great rolls or rare returning weapons which come in Vanguard and Crucible packages. Having a full collection of strike specific drops is great, and having the opportunity to get god rolls of weapons is also pretty awesome. This is a big time consumer for me in the game, and will certainly be something that players consistently do over the next couple of months. The introduction of skeleton keys is great in one way, because if you're looking for a specific drop for light level or something that you just don't own yet, then you can target that specific thing for a relatively increased chance of getting it. If I need some 400 light gauntlets for example, I might try my luck at the Shield Brothers for the Maulers gauntlets. This extends into PvP too. There's a good few new and returning weapons to both collect and get great rolls on. Not to mention that the year 2 stuff like IS Luna or a year 2 Party Crasher, which drop in the classic PvP playlists, are totally worth getting hold of if you don't already own them. Using these activities to fill out your collection, as in trying to get everything in the game over time and maxing out your light level, will be a huge part of our progression going forward. The next big thing is to home in on your class builds and weapon rolls. Collecting gear which gives you great stats and bonuses on your character is a pretty big deal. You have the grind for tier 12 setups focused on your stats, so that you're essentially maxing out your character's use of abilities, and then having bonuses to reload your most commonly used weapons or carry more ammo for these weapons on armor is pretty great. I spend a lot of time collecting reload gauntlets for each weapon type, especially the ones that I use the most, and then getting them with the right stats that make them interchangeable in the setup, and not to mention that it helps you perform as a player. It generally makes your characters even stronger. This is really time consuming stuff, but again, it doesn't mean that you have to grind all day. Of course, if you want to, then go ahead, but if you really love the game, you can also do this at a slower pace and keep coming back. So if you're a massive completionist, then Destiny is pretty great for you. To summarise, you've got hitting 400 light, collecting all the gear in the game, including weapons, armor, even ghosts, shaders, artifacts and achievements. There is absolutely tons to do. You have maxing out your character's stats and bonuses, as well as grinding and obtaining those god roll weapons. There's a lot left to do in Destiny, but there are also some problems with the current systems which Bungie could look into. So back to strikes and skeleton keys. Strike specific loot only drops when you have a key for that particular chest. So unless you're after something specific and you have that key, then it just feels like you're grinding and grinding, and it doesn't have that spontaneous element where you could get something really great at any time. On top of this, if you're over 390 light, then reputation packages just become way less exciting when you level up with Vanguard and Crucible. If you're on that light level grind, then you probably don't feel as inclined to go for packages specifically because of the light level cap. Yes, you could get a god roll weapon or something that you don't own yet, but it just feels less spontaneous and exciting than it did during the April update period, for example. As well as being able to go for specific things, the game should have some randomness in it as well. Back in year 1, this is pretty much what kept us playing. And segueing from that, up next is raid loot and how easy it is to get now. And I totally get why things drop relatively easily now. For the more casual players who complete the raid, it's nice to be able to get great stuff even though you're perhaps time limited on how much you can invest into these activities, and that is a super important thing. But for long-time players of the game, back in Vault of Glass or Crota, you would really have to grind for things. I didn't get a Fatebringer until something like my 25th or 30th Templar kill, and absolutely, it kind of sucked, but it also made getting that item incredibly special, and this is an element that has suffered more and more recently. I think the search for items is still an important phase of the end game. Which leads me on to my final point really, being able to please the more hardcore versus casual audience is still an issue in Destiny, and it has vastly improved since launch, but there are investment issues between the different groups in terms of the time that you put into the game. The more hardcore audience still want more. They want more difficult content to complete for rewards. What about harder challenge modes for the raid? Just certain things which will be super hard to get and require a ton of coordination. I would absolutely love that. I feel like the casual game is in a relatively good place. The raid can be difficult, and the same with Trials of Osiris, but it's not unachievable by any means, and with the way loot drops right now, it's relatively easy for you to get 1 or 2 items from that activity which you'll really enjoy in the game. The problem really is that the best thing is always the best thing, and that of course is what players want to go for. Bungie could add, say, a weapon or a rare class item with special bonuses and make it the thing that you get for completing a flawless raider on Wrath of the Machine, for example. Really hardcore players would love this, but then others who can complete just about everything else in the game may feel locked out of that content and perhaps enjoy the experience a little less, which definitely puts some people off the game, and that was absolutely the case in year 1. It's super difficult for Bungie to entertain relatively casual players and extremely hardcore players at the same time, which absolutely affects the endgame content for Destiny, but I'm pretty hopeful that with the research and experience that Bungie have had in the current game, the balance will vastly improve inside of Destiny 2, as well as the fact that we'll almost certainly see far more regular content, which is really going to help. So there you go guys, just a few thoughts on the current endgame situation, as well as a good list of exactly what there is left to do inside of Destiny. Destiny has its ups and downs, but it is by no means a dying game. And although we may have some difficult and slower periods inside of this next year, it's absolutely going to be worthwhile because Bungie learn a lot from these experiences, and in this gap as well, they are producing the next big thing for Destiny, of course Destiny 2, which I really think, given their experience and their progression in the current game, is going to be a fantastic second Destiny game. So we've all got that to look forward to, but let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you have enjoyed this video, a like is also appreciated down below, and if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with Destiny content. For now though, you guys have an awesome day.